Sandra, welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon right now. So in today's episode, I want to do a movie review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is what I saw yesterday at the cinema. Now, if you don't like spoilers, please do not watch this video because I am going to spoil the whole movie for you. So please go and watch the movie, then watch this afterwards and let me know what you think. But if you're a person who really wants to know about everything pretty much that happens in a movie before you see it because you like that reassurance of if it's going to be a good film or what's coming up in it, then please do continue to watch this video, this live stream, hopefully, or the replay. So yes, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, what did I think? First of all, I'm asexual, if you didn't already know that. Asexuality is a sexual orientation that's a lack of sexual attraction, and I'm personally nudity repulsed. I don't like nudity in sculptures, paintings, movies, TV shows, anything. I really don't like the naked body. So I look for movies that have got no nakedness in and that definitely have no sex in them. And this is a no sex movie. So if you're an asexual who doesn't like sex scenes, then this is a good movie to watch. Overall, I liked the movie. I thought it's really well thought out, really well put together. Probably one of the best Marvel movies in terms of like narrative, action going along. Probably maybe the best Guardians of the Galaxy movie in terms of solidness. But there was something that I didn't like about the movie. And the one major thing that I didn't like about the movie was animals being experimented on, which was a huge part of the movie. So one thing that I found very interesting about this movie, and I found it, I didn't even know this was going to happen. There was a number of things that was interesting, but there's one, the main storyline was really interesting. So basically, at the beginning of the movie, you see like the Guardians of the Galaxy, they're in like this village or something, and all of a sudden this golden god comes down from the sky and tries to kill all these people, including the Guardians of the Galaxy people. And Rocket, who's a raccoon, gets basically injured really badly. And the Guardians of the Galaxy try to save his life, but when they look at his heart, they realize he's got something attached to his heart. And if they remove this gadget, this device, without a code, you find out later on in the movie, without a code, then this device will basically kill him. So it's been put on there by someone, it's been attached to his heart, and the whole rest of the movie relies on trying to find this code to save Rocket's life. And so I was quite shocked that they'd made the movie about one of the animal characters rather than a human character. And they told the whole backstory of Rocket the raccoon, which was very interesting but very disturbing. And so I found it really difficult because I'm dead against animal testing. It's really hard to watch that part of the movie. It was really hard on me emotionally, and I found it very difficult to watch it. So basically, while Rocket is on the I say operating table, is on this table with oxygen wired up to this machine. He's thinking back to what happened to him originally, and all this story unfolds where he was actually taken as a raccoon years ago, as a baby raccoon, and this guy, who is the villain, if you like, throughout the whole movie, he decides to experiment on animals to try and make the animals more human, like without any aggression or anything, to have this perfect world, but they're like human animals, if you know what I mean. So the animals are changed with their DNA and their chemical makeup in order to make them more like humans that are stood up, but they still got animal character traits. So he basically messes with the mind and the bodies of animals, and it's really heartbreaking because Rocket had these three animal friends. Rocket, you find out, had this surgery to his head to his chest and then obviously to his heart. And so he's made up of a lot of metal. So throughout the movies, he's usually, I'm not a raccoon, but you find out he is a raccoon. He finds out himself he's a raccoon in this, but he's not totally a raccoon because he's made of metal parts. And so in order to take this device off his heart to save him, because he's dying anyway, because he's been punctured by, the golden god, as it were, then the code has to be found. And to get the code, it's with this evil villain guy and his sidekick, basically, who concocted a way of getting animals to, be manipulated by mechanical means, surgery and all this lot. It's really awful because I cried in it. It's a very upsetting movie. So Rocket has these three friends and one's a bunny, and they've literally mutated the bunny a lot. The bunny has got Rabbit, it's got like a metal plaque over its mouth, and instead of it's just its normal paws, it's got these metal legs. A lot. I think it's still got a couple of paws, but a lot of its metal legs, like a spider's legs, and that's quite disturbing. And then there's two other animals as well. One's an otter, that's been had surgery. Excuse me, had surgery on it, and there's another animal as well, and so it's very disturbing. I found this a very difficult film to watch for this reason. And you saw the fact that they were using Rocket to find out formulas for basically how to enhance these animals so that they were transformed into more human type creatures, but to get rid of the aggression. So they were using Rocket, and they were going to kill him and his friends that he built up a relationship with, a great friendship basically over the time. And this guy who's a villain just wants to use the animals to create this ideal world that he thinks is the ideal world and this perfect world. And he wants to create an alternate Earth universe and then put all these animals basically that stand up like humans with legs and arms and everything, but have like the faces of a pig and other animals. He wants to create this alternate Earth where these animals reside without aggression or anything, and he has to have the perfect race every time he does a batch of animals and he experiments on them and changes their physique and everything. If they don't match up to the perfectness of his mind and vision, he then gets rid of them and incinerates them, something like this, disintegrates them. He gets rid of them basically and kills them, and it's awful. So Rocket finds out that his three friends are gonna be killed, and he's just being used for his mind, because he's very, very clever, even though the evil one made him, and the evil one doesn't understand why he's more superior and why he understands more than the evil one himself does. But anyway, so he tries to set the animals free and to go on a spaceship to be free, but the evil one works out what he's doing and then kills all of his three friends. It's absolutely devastating. It's really upsetting because they always have dreams of escaping and going off together and all being together, and they can't be, and it's so upsetting. And all these animal experiments, it does say at the end of the movie that no animals were actually harmed, but it's just awful. I hate animal experimentation, and this is like the evil one, what his plans are all the time. So he's constantly like doing surgical procedures and constantly like just using animals, and it's horrible. I really hated it. I found it so difficult to watch that part of the movie. The overall storyline was good. I mean, I didn't expect it to be based on a raccoon, and and it was, the actual way it was done was very clever, trying to find this code and get it from the evil one and trying to break in to the evil one's like lair with all these weird creatures and stuff, if you like. It was very, very interesting. There was a lot of action throughout, and Gamora came back though. This is another shock. So Gamora was supposed to be dead, and he was mourning her at the beginning, Peter Quill, and then all of a sudden she came back, but a different version of her. And people don't understand when they watch the film, like, how can she be alive even as another version of her, because she's supposed to have died when Thanos let her drop to her death. So it doesn't really make sense so much that, but it's supposed to be a different version of her in a different timeline that Peter was with, but Peter isn't with her in this timeline. So it's, he isn't with her because she doesn't even know who he is. She doesn't remember being in a relationship or anything like that. So there's a lot of like distance between them, and she ends up being like is it a scavenger or something? And she ends up being with this group of people. And Sylvester Stallone is in there? And he's like the leader of the scavengers, and she's like with them. And at first, you don't know if she's a goody or baddie because she's into killing people. And Peter's like, the older version of you would never have done that. And she's like, well, I'm not that version. And so, anyway, throughout the movie, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of storyline. I'm not going to go into every part of the storyline. But the main thing is about Rocket. And then at the end, it's very, very strange movie, because at the end, you don't expect that to happen either. So throughout the movie, there's a lot of action. There's a lot of like, Peter wants to get back with Gamora, really. She's like, that's not who I am. I'm not that version. You see Nebula, and you see him getting a bit close to Nebula, which is like her sister. And you see, like, Peter does really take the leadership role in this. Sometimes I think he's a bit too silly acting, and sometimes I think the music doesn't go that well, because they play a lot of music that's meant to go with the action. But actually, I thought this was really well constructed. The music went really well with the action. Um, the the music went really well with the action. The the action was pretty good paced. Um, and the story was very emotional and heart-wrenching. And so it did have a lot of things you would like to see in a movie, like the action, your favorite characters, and a good storyline. But it was very hardcore to watch, and the music was really, really good, and it was a very good, solid foundation script. I felt everyone had a part in it, and it was very well thought out, and it's what I would call a very solid film. But at the end, it was really weird. I didn't realise this is the very finale one, and it does have the Guardians of the Galaxy splitting up at the end, which is shocking to me. I didn't expect them to do that. I didn't know they were going to do that. I didn't even realise it was a grand finale. And so they basically split up at the very end. But if you watch the credits, this is a spoiler. If you go through the credits and you watch at the very end, you see that Peter's come down to Earth and meets his grandpa he hasn't seen in years. And it does say the Star-Lord will return. So it seems like he's going to be in other films, but the other characters were unlikely to see some or all of them again. So that was really weird as well. I thought it's strange them splitting them up. Um, but yeah, I found it very difficult. There was a lot of emotional scenes. Rocket looked like he was going to die at one point, and then the Star-Lord, before they said he was going to come back, he looked like he was going to die. But someone saved him. So one of the baddies became a good person in the end. But the main evil one, he just needed to be killed basically, because he was just never going to be a good person and creature, because already tampered with his own skull and stuff. So yeah, he was very obsessed, and you find out that this perfect world he's tried to create is not perfect anyway, because their animals are still beating each other up for drugs and things like that. So it's no different or better than the current world we've got. But instead, he's mutilated animals and changed their DNA to be more human-like, and basically, in the alternate Earth, wiped out all the human beings by the look of it. But instead, they've got human-like animals. So it was just really a very strange film. But I did think it was well thought out, well put together, good action, good storyline. So I would recommend going to see it, especially if you don't like sex. there was no sex in it, and there wasn't even proper romance because Peter still liked Gamora, but she wasn't really interested in him. And then Peter goes off as his own at the end to decide to go back and see his grandpa he hasn't seen in years. So they separate anyway because he realizes that she isn't the version that he fell in love with originally. She's not going to be like that. So yes, highly recommend seeing it, but you have to have a thick skin, really. You have to be prepared for the animal testing stuff, which was very hardcore, very difficult. I wouldn't recommend going to watch it if you're going to go in for surgery or anything and the doctor's like needles and stuff because it really put you off and make you feel weird. Did me anyway. So, but I've got, I haven't been so well lately. So my doctor was interested in me having a blood test the other day. Well, not a doctor, a paramedic at my doctor's surgery. I'm like, no, I don't have blood tests. I'll have a chest x-ray, but I don't want the blood test. But it's not the best thing to ask you to do. And then, like, when I go and watch that, I'm thinking, no, I definitely don't want any tests. It makes me even more, like, less likely to want to have them. So, yeah, I'm scared of needles and blood, basically. So it was very hard for me to watch this movie. But it could have been worse. They could have shown you more mutilation. They didn't show you too much surgery. I suppose they could have shown a lot more. A lot of it was like shown after the surgery, what the consequences were, and they did show them going. These animals been put in great big cylinders, and then they changing form, but they were just killing some of them off and stuff. It was just quite horrible, that part. So I would have mixed views about this. I think it's a really good film. It is worth watching, but only if you realise that you can stump the hardcore parts of the animal testing and keep thinking it's not real, because it is difficult, that part, and it's no sex, so it's good. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this movie review. Please give it a thumbs up if you have. Don't forget to comment below if you've seen the movie, what your thoughts were. And I will see you soon on the next video or live stream. You might have more comments to add to this movie. I haven't really gone into much detail about all the storyline and the fact that they were trying to get that Evil One was trying to get Rocket because they wanted the information in his mind, basically, and to use him in the future still as well, and all this type of thing going on. So yeah, poor old Rocket. But it was very interesting. And the Guardians of the Galaxy at one point all came together to decide to fight, and that was a beautiful scene where they're all lined up. So yeah. Comment below what you think. Especially if you've seen the movie. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. I'll see you soon. Let's be a live stream. Lots of love. Bye.